Content.
Hello, everyone. You are welcome to the JMA Connections on this Friday, the 17th day of April 2026. And so it has come to pass that Pope Leo XIV touched ground in Bamenda yesterday, the 16th of April 2026. The crowd was unimaginable. Al Jazeera measured the crowds at several thousands people. Even though the reporter almost even talked of almost 500,000 people in the city of Bamenda to welcome Pope Leo XIV. There's been a lot of talk everywhere about the level of mobilization, a lot of talk about the level of enculturation, seen even in the vestments worn by the Pope, worn by the College of Bishops, and all other prelates that accompanied the Pope during his pontifical mass. There's been a lot of talk about the level of organization and the order that reigned during this visit. But over and above all, there's been the praise, the serious praise for the people of the southern Cameroons who have been facing a genocide for at least 10 years and counting, for the level of maturity that the people demonstrated during the Papal visit, for the decision of the people to set aside, first of all, the grievances, the challenges, the daily tortures, to spend time with the sovereign pontiff and to demonstrate our people's desire always to live in peace. But above all, the hospitality that we always reserve for all those who happen to step on our land. The people of the southern Cameroons demonstrated again, beyond reasonable doubt, to all and sundry, that although we like peace, although we are a very welcoming set of people, we never lose sight of exactly what we want. We never lose sight of exactly who we are. We never lose sight of our wishes and aspirations. This is why, despite all efforts by the colonial government of La République du Cameroon in our land, despite all efforts by Yaoundé and Paris to micromanage Pope Leo XIV's visit in Bamenda, to micromanage the Pope, to make sure that those who ended up having access to the Pope will only say the things that they want said to the Pope in his presence. So he should hear, despite all these attempts, despite all these efforts, and especially the constant presence of Paul Atanganji, La République du Cameroon's Minister of Territorial Administration, everywhere where the Pope was and with whomever the Pope was, despite all this, the people still succeeded in sending across the sound message to whomever that although we love peace, we know that there is no serious peace. There is no sustainable peace. There will never ever be the kind of peace that brings about development, that brings about prosperity where there is no justice. That kind of peace will never happen unless there is justice. And this is why the reporters, the international reporters that happened to talk to the ordinary man on the street in Bamenda went away with one clear message. The people of the southern Cameroons believe that it will never ever be business as usual anymore. The people of the southern Cameroons want dialogue. They want dialogue. They want justice. And all of this have to happen in order to ensure that there is peace. And this realization by international reporters who came visiting along with the Pope, and the messages they sent across, their commentaries, their reports, and the editorials that are circulating on social media demonstrate beyond reasonable doubt that the world would end up getting a message from the Pope's visit different from exactly what Yaoundé had wanted the world to get. The sovereign pontiff might not have been as poignant about justice in Bamenda as he was in his address in Yaoundé before La République du Cameroon's dictator Paul Biya and his gang. But there is one clear thing he said, even while in Bamenda. He said, "Woe to those who distort religions and even the name of God to justify war." And he was saying this looking at Paul Atanganji, who was representing Paul Biya during this pontifical visit in Bamenda. The sovereign pontiff said this looking at Paul Atanganji, looking at Lele Lafrique de Ben Chofo, looking at Okalia Bilai Bernard, looking at all of those demagogues straight in the face. He said this. You know why he said it? Because there have been occasions where this same Paul Atanganji has tried to quote the Bible to justify the genocide that is being unleashed on the people of the southern Cameroons. I know one very notable example or instance was the one in Kumba. After La République du Cameroon used its proxies to murder children in a private school in Kumba and wanted to tack this on the people of the southern Cameroons, on the freedom fighters of the southern Cameroons. And Atanga Ponji visited and began trying to quote the Bible in vain. And this courageous and brave southern Cameroon's mother stood up and said, "Objection," told him to his face, held Paul Atanganji spellbound. And this is the second time, therefore, that someone has told Paul Atanganji and the genocidal regime in Yaoundé, the bloodthirsty system in Yaoundé, in their faces, that you cannot use the name of God to justify evil. You cannot use the name of God to justify a genocide. You cannot use the name of God or quote the Bible to justify your bloodthirsty activities. Do not also forget that a citizen of La République du Cameroon set on motion pictures, set on a television panel in Yaoundé, that there have been times in the Bible where God had annihilated entire cities. He was referring to the twin cities of Sodom and Gomorrah in order to rebuild, because God felt that everybody in those cities were unclean. And so he pointed out that if it became necessary, the people of the southern Cameroons could simply be wiped out, and Yaoundé would decide on how to repopulate the territory of the southern Cameroons. It was to this kind of people that the sovereign pontiff made this statement. And he made this statement in Bamenda. And do not also forget that the sovereign pontiff was addressing those unscrupulous, soulless politicians of the CPDM crime syndicate in our land, who constantly take upon themselves to refer to a genocidaire like Paul Biya, to refer to a bloodthirsty tyrant known all over the world as such, as an apostle of peace. Someone who doesn't lose an opportunity to say he who wants peace must be prepared for war. Anytime he has to talk to the people, anytime he has to address the people, he has always ended up being totally belligerent, yet calls himself an apostle of peace. Someone who never economizes the military power to crush, to kill, to maim, and to loot people is the one that they often offer themselves the luxury to address as an apostle of peace. It is this same one that the Pope, it is this same attitude that the Pope right in Bamenda was condemning. And do not forget, the Pope also made another very strong statement right there in Bamenda, where he said, there are a few tyrants around the world who have confiscated the wills, the wishes, the futures, and the destinies of a lot of peoples. The Pope made this very strong statement in Bamenda. This is another pointer to the effect that despite all the efforts made by Yaoundé to present a story completely different from what is happening on the ground, did not sink, did not stand well with the Pope. The Pope might not have shouted a lot about justice or this or that in Bamenda, but do not forget, when he made those declarations in Yaoundé, that is where he ought to make them. And he did not miss the opportunity to make those strong declarations, because in that address, in every single paragraph, the sovereign pontiff talked about the need for justice and made clear justice has to be seen to be done before you start talking about peace. Some critics have tried to hang on one of the high points of the Pope's visit to Bamenda, where he released a number of doves into the atmosphere and called for peace, and said the people really want peace. The people are thirsty for peace. The people desire peace. Some people thought that, okay, he just came to try to lure the people, that he just came to Bamenda to try to send the people to sleep. But these declarations I've just pointed out should tell you the Pope knows exactly what he is talking about, and the Pope has a clear idea what actually is happening. I will tell you this, and I had pointed it out even before the Pope got to Bamenda, that Yaoundé, in working with the authorities of the Catholic Church, I wonder if the authorities of the Catholic Church even had a choice, to make sure that those who were called victims, who were referred to as victims of the ongoing genocidal war or conflict in the southern Cameroons, who had to meet the Pope, the bike riders, the civil society and others, will only be those who come to talk from the government's viewpoint, will only be those who come to take side with the oppressor. And of course, it came to pass that that is exactly what it was. Because when I followed the commentator on EWTN, who was reporting from Bamenda, I wasn't the one talking, he said that victims who were once captured by gunmen and held in captivity for some time had the opportunity to tell their story to the Pope, how they were treated, the kind of tortures they went through, the kind of challenges they faced, and all of those. And then I said, of course, that's exactly what I had said before, that was going to happen. They did not bring family members of the people who were burnt alive in Gabon, who were roasted alive in Gabon by the military of La République du Cameroon. Because it is no longer in doubt who did Gabon. La République du Cameroon's own justice system stage managed something and found their own soldiers and their proxies, the Fulanis, the forces, the private militia of Ngala Gerard. They found them guilty. But even the church did not deem it necessary to bring the families of those victims to tell their story of how traumatized they have been all this while to the Pope, to tell their story to the Pope. No, they could not bring them. They did not bring some of the rape victims of the soldiers of the colonial forces of La République du Cameroon in our land. You recall? The young nursing mother around Veterinary Junction who was raped in broad daylight by a soldier of La République du Cameroon, who was eventually identified. And the La République du Cameroon's colonial administration, under Lele Lafrique de Benchofo, said they were going to punish him severely. This young nursing mother was not brought before the Pope to tell her story. They did not bring victims of homes, of communities, where whole villages were reduced to ashes by La République du Cameroon's army of occupation, who were implementing Paris and Yaoundé's scorched earth policy in our land. It's true that the Fund of Mancon tried to make mention about homes burned and all of this, and some of the misery and torture, but he came short of absolutely pointing fingers where they ought to be pointed. He came short of establishing responsibility, but all the same, through the social media, through the hard work of myriad Southern Cameroonians across the world, young and old, educated and uneducated, who took time to go to every single platform where they were broadcasting anything about the Pope and uploaded videos and uploaded pictures and put in links that directed all visitors to pages that told the real story. Thanks to all of these efforts, the Vatican has a true picture of exactly what has been happening in the Southern Cameroons. And you could see this in the reports by a lot of the international journalists who visited. I uploaded one of the reports by the journalist from Al Jazeera in Bamenda. Let me say this. No matter whatever efforts Yaoundé put in to try to turn things around, they never worked. They never worked because the people of the Southern Cameroons know exactly what they want. The people of the Southern Cameroons have lived through pain right from 1961 that this whole nonsense happened called a joining. Because they started feeling so the pain right from 1961, but it got worse from 1964. So the people have developed strategies and all kinds of techniques to overcome tyranny, to overcome a propaganda machinery that had developed all these strategies. And that is why Yaoundé did not succeed in passing across what they wanted to pass across. Because all they wanted to talk was, oh, they talk peace. Oh, the people came out en masse because they wanted peace. Oh, the people like the statement. Don't get me wrong. The Archbishop of the Bamenda Ecclesiastical Province, Archbishop Andrew Nkia, made very awesome remarks in his over 5-minute speech that I have and that I'll eventually upload on this platform for all to go through again and make a critical analysis of. He made very interesting statements. He said very important things. And of course, he talked about the worries, the concerns, and the aspirations of the people. But there is a statement that he made and that a lot of people have felt disappointed with. And that statement is what I want to, go to here, where he said, for the first time in 10 years, separatists and government are speaking the same language. That's a miracle of the Pope's visit. Everybody wants peace. And that is where I tell Archbishop Andrew Nkia that is absolutely a misrepresentation of the situation. First, the freedom fighters of the Southern Cameroons. The Southern Cameroons liberation movement is not a separatist movement. La République du Cameroun separated from this botched union. La République du Cameroun unilaterally withdrew from a union that never was even in the first place. By signing a decree in 1984, reverting the name of the country from United Republic of Cameroon to the Republic of Cameroon, a country that existed prior to the so-called joining in 1960, Paul Biya effectively withdrew La République du Cameroun from the Union and then went on to immediately annex the Southern Cameroons. This is what you should know. We are not separatists. The Southern Cameroons Liberation Movement is a movement that is working to take back, to recover a stolen country. It's a movement that is working to end black on black colonialism. It's a movement that is working to end the illegal occupation of our territory by a foreign country known as La République du Cameroun. The Southern Cameroons Liberation Movement is working to correct the errors of the United Nations, because the decolonization process of the Southern Cameroons was botched. It was not completed, and we are working to complete that. That does not turn us into a separatist movement. We are not. Those who are promoting the notion of the people of the Southern Cameroons as being separatists are those who want to continue giving the false impression that we were ever part of La République du Cameroun, that we were ever a territory of La République du Cameroun. And these people know that we have international boundaries, which therefore means that we were never part of La République du Cameroun. These people know that even in the so-called union that ought to have happened in 1961, or that did happen in 1961, that joining never went through because it ought to be sealed by the signing of a treaty of union, which never happened. And these people know that even the United Nations recognizes that these are two separate entities, evidenced in the move by the United Nations itself. The Secretary General of the United Nations, Ban Ki-moon, dispatching a delegation to La République du Cameroon in 2010 on the occasion of the celebration of 50 years of the independence of La République du Cameroon. They dispatched two maps, one of the southern Cameroons and the other of La République du Cameroon, with our internationally recognized boundaries. And therefore, anyone referring to the people of the southern Cameroons as separatists is first of all already at fault. That's number one. What I want to say to that statement by Archbishop Andrew Nkia. The second thing I want to say is when he says that we are speaking the same language with the government of Cameroon and that everybody wants peace. No. The people of the southern Cameroons have always wanted peace. La République du Cameroon has never wanted peace. And I'll prove this to you. While some in our movement fretted, asked questions, was this necessary? Why did they do this? When Sisiku Julius Ayub Tabe and Cho Ayaba Lucas directed their people, the people of their various movements, or their representatives, to issue a statement announcing a 3-day unilateral ceasefire to make the visit of the sovereign pontiff a moment of fanfare and communion. Though some people fretted over this, said, was it necessary? They lost sight of the fact that this was a very strategic move. Strategic because it once more demonstrated the desire of the people of the southern Cameroons for dialogue. Demonstrated the thirst of the people of the southern Cameroons for openness. Showed that the people of the southern Cameroons are not a barbaric, stupid set of people that would turn on any and every visitor in order to make our voices heard, in order to tell our story. La République du Cameroon has tried a lot to tell the Roman Catholic Church that the freedom fighters of the southern Cameroons are targeting reverend fathers, targeting reverend sisters, targeting church leaders. But you know what? This release, that determination, that decision, widely reported in the international media, presented a completely different story. Because over time, La République du Cameroon's proxies, those they released from the DDRs, those boys who are hired by Nkonda Titus of My Country People, them, Ngala Gerald, Atanga Ponji, and the Fu Jonathans and all of those, with the Callistus Fu Gentries, and the Fotabe Tandos, and all of those, and placed to go out there and go after church ministers so that they will tell the world that we are like Boko Haram. They failed. This strategic move, calling a unilateral ceasefire for 3 days to make the visit of the Pope a moment of fanfare and communion, foiled the story. And again, it said another thing that makes this statement by Archbishop Andrew Nkia not hold water. If La République du Cameroon really loved peace, if La République du Cameroon was really speaking the same language like the people of the southern Cameroons, they too would even have been the one to seek that truce. They never did. I want to point this out. Listen, that statement just went to cement a tradition that you can trace within the past 10 years. First, let's talk about the Swiss initiative. La République du Cameroon never showed up. They used it as a ruse to fool the international community that was bringing pressure to bear on La République du Cameroon to come to the negotiation table. And not even the doc from La République du Cameroon ever showed up in Switzerland, despite Southern Cameroon's delegations at the highest level showing up in Switzerland over and over and over. La République du Cameroon turned around and contacted the government of Canada. They thought it was another ruse because they were coming there to try to do what they have been doing on the ground, to retail a watered-down version of a negotiation process with the people of the Southern Cameroons by trying to talk to each movement on a different day, on a different account, to come out with several small kinds of agreements. But the people of the Southern Cameroons, understanding this, worked as a bloc and showed in Canada that we may seem, we may appear, we may give the impression that we are so divided. But when the opportunity comes, we all rise to the occasion and speak with one voice. Then, even after signing agreements, La République du Cameroon ran away when it was time to talk, because they noticed that this meant they would soon find themselves on a negotiation table where it would be internationally mediated and where the root cause of this ongoing genocidal conflict will be discussed. And La République du Cameroon knows that in the absence of a treaty of union, they have no claim on the territory of the Southern Cameroons. And so coming to an internationally mediated settlement will mean simply coming to say goodbye to the Southern Cameroons. They never showed up. And again this time, when the Pope was coming, the people of the Southern Cameroons stood out again and said, we will come out there. We will lay down our arms for 3 days to receive the Pope, because we are first and foremost a Christian community. We put our trust in God. That's why you find that even at the level of the consortium, about all our releases end always with God is with us. At the beginning was God, and at the end will be God. And the third thing, that strategic move by the teams of Sisi Julius Ayuk Tabe and Comrade Cho Ayaba Lucas achieved was La République du Cameroon was waiting to use the opportunity of this visit to try and tell the world that the people defied the Southern Cameroon's liberation movement and came out in their thousands and thousands because normalcy has returned, because the people are ready now to continue to live in slavery and servitude over Yaoundé. But today they can't claim that. You know why? Because the encouragement from the Southern Cameroon's liberation movement for the people to go out and receive the Pope is the direct reason why you found that so much fanfare. And so La République du Cameroon can't claim it and interpret this otherwise. It's now very complicated for them to do that, because the evidence is out there, even in international media, that the fanfare you saw, the great mobilization you saw, only happened because the Southern Cameroon's liberation movement told the people, go out and communion with the sovereign pontiff, with the representative of St. Peter. This is what it is. You notice that even the unity warriors of the Southern Cameroons across the board had sent out communiques telling people to go out and receive the Pope. So even those who bear arms said, go out and receive the Pope. La République du Cameroon militarized Bamenda so seriously that to give the impression it was because of the military presence they had that fanfare. But all of that ended up in the dust, simply because of such strategic moves. That is why when I saw a statement like this one from Dr. Larry Ayamba, who said Pope Leo's visit to Bamenda, he referred to it as a moral abdication, generic platitudes while Ambazonia bleeds. And he said this, Bamenda, April 16, 2026. He said, in the shadow of St. Joseph's Cathedral, where the blood of Ambazonian sons and daughters still stains the soil of the northern zone, Pope Leo XIV stood before a carefully staged meeting for peace. Amber forces, in a unilateral gesture of goodwill and restraint, had announced a 3-day temporary cessation of hostilities to ensure the Holy Father's safety and the dignity of his apostolic journey. Yet, what the Vatican delivered in return was not prophetic truth to power, but a masterclass in diplomatic evasion, a torrent of lofty abstractions that left the structural genocide against the people of the former UN Trust territory of British Southern Cameroons untouched, unnamed, and unaddressed. Now, you see, Larry Ayamba is saying this from where he stands. Of course, he would have expected, and I'm sure there are quite some people like him too, who would have expected that this should have been a tribune where serious acknowledgement is made of the pains the people have gone through, where the real sufferings of the people are named, where the instances that shocked the entire world are mentioned, like what happened in Gabu, where true victims of this ongoing genocidal war are brought before the world to tell their story, and where you do not have a presentation of something that looks more like a one-sided monologue by the oppressor and his allies to try and tell the people something different from what they know. But again, I want to depart a bit from that point of view to say the sovereign pontiff is also a head of state who can only advise, who can only call out, and who can only talk morality. And he didn't fail in that duty when he made his statements in Yaoundé. Like I said before, it is true. People would have wanted him to say these things in Bamenda. But he felt Paul Biya, the diaper-wearing nonagenarian, who 3/4 of the time during the day does not know where he is, could not travel with the Pope to Bamenda, as it normally should have happened, and therefore was not going to be present with him in Bamenda. And the Pope needed to address him directly. Reason? The Pope chose to talk everything about the need for justice, for dialogue, and for addressing the root causes of this genocidal conflict in Yaoundé before Paul Biya. At least that is my perception. It is true that It really didn't happen 100% as everybody would have expected. But we pick out instances where at least those strong declarations were made and we run away with them. Do not forget that even the Pope himself knows that he is appealing to the moral consciences of people who do not have consciences. Do not forget that even the Pope himself is aware that he is urging a people, he is urging a mad a regime that does not value the human person to address concerns that they have known for over 40 years and have never cared to address. The Pope is not unaware of this. Now what is left to be seen will be what happens after Pope Leo XIV returns to the Vatican. Will he make efforts to urge other more powerful actors on the international scene to push La République du Cameroon to understand the need to come to the negotiation table? That is yet to be seen. That is what we will be watching out for. But just so you know, Yaoundé is already sufficiently frustrated with a lot of the declarations that the Pope made. And I will bring you evidence of this in my next presentation on the Saturday, the 18th of April, 2026. There is so much more we'll be talking about. And like I said before, we will continue to address these issues. There is a lot, and we will keep digging. We will keep digging, and I'll keep bringing all of this here for us to understand. But at this point in time, I want to extend very hearty congratulations to the people of the Southern Cameroons in general, but particularly to our people on ground zero, both from the northern and the southern zones, for what they have portrayed to the world. And I also want to express, to give deserved credit to those who understood the need, who saw the need, and took the initiative to do it, that issued that unilateral call for a 3-day ceasefire. It might have seemed ordinary, but the role it has played is invaluable. Some may agree with me, others may disagree. But look at the analysis and you understand exactly where I'm coming from. I want to end here, and I want to thank all those who found time to be with me on this platform, to go with me through this analysis. If you were here for the first time on the JMA Connections, I urge you to go right ahead and hit on that subscribe button and personalize, so that anytime something new drops here, you will be the first to know. Make sure too you share the link as much as possible. That's what we always do on this platform, to continue to reach as many people as we can. And especially do not forget to drop a comment. Be part of the conversation. But make your comments constructive. Avoid insults. Let's address the issues. And together, let's contribute to the liberation of our land. Don't also forget to hit that like button. It always goes a long way. Thank you very much for your time. To God be the glory.
That peace will truly reign among us. That as we release these white doves, symbol of peace, that God's peace will be upon all of us, upon this land, and keep us all united in His peace. That peace will truly reign among us. That as we release these white doves, symbol of peace, that God's peace will be upon all of us, upon this land, and keep us all united in His peace. Praise the Lord! That peace will truly reign among us. That as we release these white doves, symbol of peace, that God's peace will be upon all of us, upon this land.
Good morning. I'm there for Southern Cameroon with Papal for Southern Cameroon. Now, I'm picking brother Abdul Karim. We don't say I go quiet, so because I check say the first message will be sent now. When I be understand. But my eye passed for paging news this morning. I see so mommy for Catholic Church, we saw another woman where they talk with big grammar, where they don't go interview them, they ask them so which they expect them as Pope the Cap. They passed me whether this mommy them, now really who mommy them, and that woman are really who sister. I don't know me they are named them. But I see the palaver pass my power. Where some man too on top bike. The man where they on top bike said the voice need to sound like Bamenda man. He the one sound like man where come on bunda, where don't stay for Bamenda. But the talk they pass my power. Mammy talk say me Pope come because they kidnap them for no nothing. They go pay ransom for no nothing. Mammy be right. Kidnapping maybe routine. Bamenda man don't know that kind of fashion. But when mommy was see mommy feel like 67 or 70 years. I see mommy come out the talk that kind of talk. I'd ask and say, Osa mommy be there for 2016. Osa mommy be there for 2017. Osa mommy be there for 2018, 2019. Mommy go leave malaria parasite. Go to talk about symptoms when a headache. Yes, we don't fight palaba kidnapping with people they do inside town, inside land. But for mommy, when they go actually say, you want me Pope can't do it, you begin talk kidnapping. Kidnapping start with Bamenda, who's the mommy. Even if the kidnapping day to day, wait to start up. You know, go try for talk now, say, be then quench that thing where they promote the kidnapping. Be then quench that problem. I want to ask that mommy, say, Mancho BBC, they die for prison, so where they don't talk to me, they fix road now, because Mancho be come out, cry, say, me they fix road, then catch you local. So that mommy be happy. Mommy not open one mop, talk say my pikin in the prison. Mancho they prison. When they pray say me Pope can make them move them. That one no come out. It shows say this mommy they don't prepare you. They don't prepare you. Now people they select them, prepare them. The other woman come out talk big English, guru English, go up there, calm down. You know, yeah, Palava cause for the problem. You know, yeah, for Palava put it in the inside bush. To one day they don't be disgraced, and one day they for prison. You know, yeah, no nothing. You only talk them. It shows say they don't prepare them. As for that bike man, I need the doubt na bunda man. My mommy them, my papa them, God the watch all we. God the watch all when I wanna dey for down there. God the watch we will dey for here. God the watch the one day then they outside. Papa God go judge una, go decide for use opportunity for stop the blood where the flow for land, for stop the people where they kill we so. Una go use them because una want please una belly, una want please some mayor, una want please some governor. God the look una, God the watch una. Man wey get sense they look now. Man wey get sense they look tomorrow. Anything we get beginning, it get ending. Thing we normal end, na thing we normal start. If we are the glad say we dey for ya, we are the glad say people dey suffer. One day, wallahi, it go end. When it ends, some people go laugh, some people go cry. God go judge una the plan for use this visit for propel some political agenda. And if you believe say na una go sit down so, where this thing start for una from, then key Akunjilius on the 8th of December 2016, we're claiming. Start shoot gun them. We only come out to so una stop them. They don't catch we locker. Catch a party for Nigeria where they be wrong go hide they bring a can locker. Well, if you open up talk that one. Man to we cry say me then fix road and catch you locker, they fix the road to the one at the glad, the tank mayor, the tank governor. So much shame no day. Shame no day. God day. For the good people the way they sit there for that land, they could have used this opportunity. When pass on a message for that Pope. When pass on a message for Pope with all respect. When I welcome you, when pass on a message for you. May the ceasefire. Move military for when hit. Move for that picking them for prison. She don't talk. When I no start war. When I picking them be kidnapper them. We grow for Bamenda, we grow for Biya. We picking them might be that kind of thing. It start when? Where to bring that kind of thing inside land. Now we bring them. They come up for our side. If we not like, we not listen to it. If we not like, we could not listen to it. That land now all we get. Once you suffer, I go suffer. Once I suffer, you go suffer. May God bless you now. Good people them. We don't rate when plenty people don't come out guide when I waiting for do. We could not follow and do. God get help. Assalamu alaikum.